Welcome to Bring Out Your Badass Self, a movement to break your negative thoughts and habits and instead focus on building each other up and encouraging fearless authenticity.
Each week, we will get vulnerable and share experiences alongside our guests and audience. Come rediscover your inner badass self.
Hey.
I tried a new visual today.
Well, good morning, badass. It totally looks different, but
it does. Do we like it?
I don't know if I'm adjusting to.
Do we like that better?
Yeah, that feels better.
All right.
But I don't know if it's because it's usual or what, like our perceptions are tricky.
I just decided last minute, I'm going to try this.
Good morning. How are you? You're in a different location. You're on set in the cabin, right?
I am. And so I'm at the cabin. I'm actually with family this weekend, family that has come from Missouri, and we're having a really good time getting to know each other more. This is actually my second cousin. And I got to spend time with him as I was growing up, but haven't had a lot of time over the years to spend time with him. And so over the past couple of years, have continued to connect with each other. And I was like, you just got to come on up to the cabin. So they did, along with, we are going to have, 5 boys and 2 girls, along with the 4 adults this weekend. And so we're waiting for Gavin to come up today, and then we'll have the full crew.
Wow. What have you guys done? Have you done tubing?
So they did a little bit of tubing. On Saturday, we're going to do the full experience. They did, I can't think of the word.
Fly fishing?
No, they have done fishing. And then they also did, I can't think of the word, where you fly through the air.
I
can't think of the word.
I can't think of it either. Oh my God. Zip line.
Yes, thank you.
We have a little one in our backyard. Yeah.
Yeah, so they did zip lining yesterday and really enjoyed that. So there were 7 of them that did zip lining yesterday.
Oh, yeah. I would suppose out on the mountain, the zip lining is pretty cool.
Yeah, Carrie's helping us. She's like,
come on, girls. Kim too.
All right, awesome. Well, we have Kim joining us today. She said, good morning to my favorite, beautiful, badass ladies. And then we also have Carrie. Happy Friday from Job Hunt Central. Yes, timely topic of inner self and inner critic. And so, Carrie, I hope that you get information today. And we also are going to have a surprise at the end. So Jen is actually going to, so you got to stick around though, but she's going to be giving away a free reading for someone. So we're excited about that as well. And so as you are joining us, please say hello. I can tell there are more people on. So for our lurkers, please say hello. It was funny the other day, I was watching someone else's and then they were mentioning me and they were like, I'm there, I watch, I just don't really comment. And I'm like, well, say hello.
Right.
So, Sandra, coming in.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. And so today should be a very interesting show. We have talked about human design before, but we're going to go even deeper into some things today. And then we're also just going to find out more about Jen, who is our guest today. And Kate, before we do that, what's going on with you?
Oh, man. What is going on with me? I don't chaos as always,
finishing up your bathroom.
Yeah. We're stalled currently. Our contractor needed a little break, which is good. So he's taking a break and then I think we'll be starting back up next week. Hopefully getting the bathtub in. So we have not gotten anything in the room yet. The bathtub is here in the garage, but
okay.
Jen and I are having a really hard time picking things out. Um, we're not sure, you know, we have to redo all the floors in the house. So we're not sure, like, you know, do we match the floors? Do we, whatever, you know? So, and of course, you know, we talk about it for like 5 minutes right before he falls asleep every night. Like, we got to pick out flooring. And then like, it never happens. So.
Oh, you need someone like me. I'm very decisive when it comes to all of that stuff. Like Jay and I went in, so we're having to redo our bathroom because it's leaking again for the 2 years later. So the guy's like, sorry, I gotta like redo all of this. So we're like, all right. So we go to Floor and Decor to go pick out things, and I'm like, no, and I'm like, yes. I'm like, you know, like I just immediately know what it is that I want. And so I'm like already saying it to the guy, and we're going to redo Riley's bathroom at the same time.
Okay.
Try to give them more storage space, because when Gavin comes over, I feel so bad for him because of all the stuff that Riley has in the bathroom.
He has no place to be.
No, and we're like, Riley, like, pick up your stuff. Like, he doesn't need to see your bra and underwear.
Right.
She's so used to being by herself.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Oh,
well, we're going. I mean, I think it's going to be lovely when we're done, because it's a huge bathroom, so we have lots of space. So we're doing a big tub, and we're doing a double shower because we have the space, you know. So the kids are super excited. The littles are super excited to take a bath while moms are showering. Like, that is that is what they're excited about. You know, they're like, so we can be in the bathtub, maybe our swimsuits on, who knows, but we can be in the bathtub and you guys can be showering. And we're like, yes, that is possible. And they're like, that will be hilarious. And that is all like they're talking about, which is very funny.
Oh, goodness. Well, we have some more people joining, and then let's get into it. So Stephanie, she said, good morning, beauties. Thank you so much, Stephanie. And so I've been missing her and Wesley. I'm out this week, and I feel like I've been on vacation a lot. And so, which I have, but it's been great working with her and Wesley. And Bruce is coming in. He said, hey, badasses. And so, Bruce, I apologize. So my electricity went out this week, and I was supposed to connect with Bruce while I was on vacation, and I ended up having to ditch our meeting because my electricity was out on Tuesday, and then I accidentally scheduled on top of our meeting. So I apologize, Bruce. We're going to connect. So we have a new person joining. So welcome. So I say word. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. And so good morning. And so coming in from YouTube, let us know where you're coming in from and how you found out about us. And so welcome to BOYBAS, and hope you enjoy today's show.
Thanks for coming.
And so, well, let's get into it. What I would like to do is bring Jen Day on and have her do a little bit of an introduction to herself. So hang on one second. Let's bring her up. And there we go. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing this morning?
I am fabulous.
Awesome.
I love that.
Totally fabulous.
I'm loving all the stuff in the back. So
yeah,
Thank you.
I couldn't wait to talk about it, honestly. When we it's gorgeous. So I'm assuming you're an artist, and is that your art?
Yes.
It's really, really cool. I love it.
Thank you.
And I love that you have it displayed behind you. It's like, I feel like you get this cool energy from having yourself surrounded by your own creativity. Like, do you feel like
that's
that?
Great.
Or no?
You know, I actually have my art behind me. There's a joke that my husband and a bunch of my friends are now calling me on, that I actually don't finish my art because if anybody walks in and has a problem with a piece that is on my wall, I can say, oh, well, it's not finished yet. It's like a defensive mechanism, right? So in counterbalance to that, you know, I put it up so that people can see, because art is not supposed to be perfect. There is no perfect art. And we are all creative beings. We are the artists of our life. And so we need to be brave and just put it out there. There's no wrong with art.
No.
Just like
the only
our
thing
life.
wrong with art is not doing it. Right. And just like our life. And I believe that the divine feminine, divine masculine meet each other at the canvas. That when we are receiving whatever it is that we want to do in whatever way, that's divine feminine. And then the divine masculine is the action. It is the spark of creativity, that when we put the paintbrush on the canvas or the pen on the paper. And if we think about that sort of dance of receiving and action as the way we should be living our lives, it feeds into human design. We need to receive the information that our gut is giving us, that the wisdom that is this system and this avatar that we were blessed with. And then we can have some knowing and some confidence about the way we walk through and act out our life.
I love that. Well, that's, I mean, it's a great intro to yourself, but let's do even further. Like, I love that intro just about you and your knowledge. Yeah. But let's do an introduction to yourself as well. And so people know more about you, what it is that you do currently.
I am a shamanic practitioner. I'm a life coach, and I have many, many tools in my toolbox. I use human design. I use Gene Key. I am really fond of the Adult Chair, which is a life coaching platform. I actually am a creativity coach and an art medicine practitioner. So everything in my practice is pulling in any tool that interests the client to really get them connected within themselves. I think that is where the path of human design, if I can just go there first, the reason to learn your human design is because it gives you a structure to explore your life with. And it is called, the words used are live your experiment. This is a human design experiment. What if these things were true? What if these archetypal energies were really great for you and you could use them to get through your daily life? That helps you get to know yourself a little bit better. Does this work? Does this not work? What is your inner critic saying? Why is your inner critic saying that? What are all these voices within your head? This life and ecosystem that lives within our spirit, within our system that nobody else can hear, is absolutely informing every single thing that we do on the outside. So through our relationships with other people, we explore or experience a hiccup in those relationships because of what goes on inside. And I really became, I am a domestic violence survivor. And I became really interested in learning about what's going on inside of me when I had to learn how to get out. And I had to really take a good hard look at the things that had happened to me in my past, which set me up to be a person who was in that position. And I had a decent childhood, and I really loved both of my parents. And even so, I found myself with a narcissist. And how you find yourself out of the box that life might put you in is to learn about yourself so that you can get brave enough to step into your own authenticity and into your own power in order to get out. And the only way to do that is to tell yourself some truths.
And love yourself for who you are.
And love yourself for who you are. Yep. Yeah. And also call yourself on your issues.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's been the most empowering thing for me, to be able to walk out of that situation and find some strength. And so I am here with all these tools in my toolbox because I needed all of these tools to help me understand all of the different dynamics that went into the life that I created. And so I am now helping my clients unwind some of their own stories so that they can find their way to their authenticity.
I love that. So Maya's coming in and she said, oh my gosh, this is such an exciting episode. I'm late, but already enthralled. And she said, wow, I so relate. So we actually had Maya on as well. And so I know several things that you said already definitely hit home for her. And so I love a lot of the things that you said that I want to go back and sort of emphasize. Things that you said that I think a lot of people when we're thinking about life and the things we're doing, we don't look at it as an experiment. And when we think like there's got to be a path and there's this right and wrong way of doing things in life, instead of exploring more about ourselves and understanding more about our inner self and our inner guiding system of things. And I think that's probably one of the biggest things that if anybody takes away from this show is that spend less time judging yourself, spend less time putting shame on the things that you did, learn from them, go beyond that, but take that and do more, like learn more about yourself and experiment and figure out, like, if things aren't going well, why? Like, if you're repeating the same pattern, there's something there that you're supposed to be learning. So learn more about yourself to figure out how you can get out of that pattern. And so I love all of the things that you're saying. I also love all the tools, and I really want to get into like each of them so people can understand how each of them might potentially help them as well. But before we do that, you mentioned a lot of things about your past. So if we can first sort of focus in on, you said you had a great childhood, but then it sounds like some things happened later on. So do you want to maybe give some highlights of your childhood, and then as you were experiencing the things that you experienced later on in life, maybe talking about that and how a little bit further about how you then got into this?
Sure. I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area.
Okay.
And life was beautiful and simple. It was, my father was an accountant with Coopers and Lybrand. He's from England. And so he grew up playing in the bomb craters of World War I, which was a little bit different than the California upbringing that I had, playing with frogs and climbing trees. So there was it was really interesting. That offered a really interesting flavor to my childhood, because my dad had a very European view and very kind of antique view, I'll call it, of gender specific roles within the family. And my upbringing was different than my brother's, for sure. I was the oldest. My brother is almost 4 years younger. And my dad was a heavy drinker. I think a lot of us can say that there's a lot of alcohol themed challenges that our generation is trying to untangle right now. And the definition of alcoholism is interesting to me, because I think that even if alcohol doesn't become a problem for the person who's drinking a lot, because I would call my parents functional alcoholics, I suppose. Yep. The instability within the household that consistent drinking creates is an insecurity that those of us have to grow up with. And so we develop our psyches are so amazing that we can develop all these tips and tricks for how we can stay safe. How do we move forward? How do we what do we need to do within our environment to create a sense of safety, which our parents are not giving us, for instance? That was absolutely my experience. And my father, for whatever reason, took out a lot of his frustrations, I think, on me. And it wasn't like I wasn't physically abused, but I think the conversation around domestic violence these days is shifting from just that of broken bones and bruises to really embracing coercive control, rage as a form of domestic violence. And there's a lot of really, there's a lot of difficulty with people understanding what rage and anger and unchecked emotional behavior does within a family ecosystem. Right. And our children are not putting up with the same emotional insecurities and instabilities that we had to put up with. Right. So it's actually a privilege for us to be untangling this right now. And we are being forced to address these issues because the time is perfect. Our parents were dealing with another massive war. Look at my dad growing up in the bomb craters of London. That's a very different experience than what my childhood in California, in the Bay Area. That there was no strife that was visibly evident in my experience. So these things are the time is perfect for us to really learn about what makes us tick emotionally. I know, there are a couple of buzzwords that get thrown a lot, like triggers. I love triggers, actually. I don't love when I am triggered. That is, I think people are kind of lying when they say that. But it is an opportunity for us to step into learning more about ourselves. If I feel triggered because of someone's behavior, there's something in me that needs to be addressed.
Right.
And so often in our society, we see it all the time these days, that when we are triggered, we immediately jump out and attack the triggerer. Is that a word? But in fact, what we need to do is look deeper inside, like what is in there? And I think that so many of us run around victims of our own inner critic and those voices that are inside. And a lot of the wisdom of those inner critics and these different voices can be found in your human design chart. Mm-hmm. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What comes naturally to you? What does not? Why do we sometimes have the ability to really access our thoughts in a really eloquent way and get them out? Whereas if you're by yourself in your bedroom, you cannot do that. This is all the human design chart as we energetically link up and hook up with one another or disengage and separate. These things energetically have an effect on us. And it's interesting to study human design. I not only do human design from an individual standpoint, I do family ecosystem human design. Ooh. So looking at the way all of the charts within the family system, how those connect or not. And it's actually helped me understand significantly my older son, because he only has one channel, which just means that he doesn't have a whole lot of consistent energy himself. But that channel is rhythm. And he moves to his own drum, period. There's no hurrying that child. And he needs to hook up with me to do a lot of other things. He needs to hook up with someone. Right now, it's me. So the human design gives me a lot of insight into what's going on inside of my own family members, myself, and then I help my clients get that information. I started studying human design and gene keys at the time that I left my ex-husband in 2017. Okay. And I then found out about the Enneagram and the adult chair and started all of these different programs. I am a certificate collector. I am certified in so many things, but I feel as though I'm a teacher. I taught for 30 years before that to elementary and middle school. And I feel as though in order to teach something well, I have to have a really broad understanding of the material. Yeah. And it's interesting because while I'm a certificate collector of all these different things, I have not collected a certification in human design because I have many mentors. I study with 3 different people. So I have 3 different systems that I'm adjusting through, and I'm doing all kinds of other investigation online as well. So in that way, I view myself as a synthesizer of this information. The Enneagram, if you don't know what that is, it's a personality test that's similar to the Myers-Briggs. It just overtook the Myers-Briggs as the most commonly used personality test within the corporate world in 2020. Mm-hmm. And I joke, but it's not really a joke, that my husband and I'm remarried to a wonderful man. And I joke that we would not be married if we hadn't learned about the Enneagram anymore, because we got married during COVID. We have 6 kids between us, and we thought we were going to have like 1 kid living with us for 1 more year, and then we would be empty nesters. And then COVID hit, and the next thing we knew, we had 5 kids, all between the ages of 16 or 17 and 22, living with us, and we were making dinner for 10 people every night. And I was like, what the heck? So it was a crash of all of our kids who were older and didn't ask for us to get married. And so quickly we were having conflicts that were unexpected and were triggering for both of us from our previous relationships. Yeah. The beautiful thing about the Enneagram, in my opinion, is that it helps us understand how we behave in conflict, why we behave that way, and that we can have respect for ourselves and our partner or anybody with whom we are going to be in a situation where there's conflict. And in connection, there is conflict. And all humans need connection.
Right.
right? All connection. So I am a 5 on the Enneagram, which makes me an investigator, and I'm really kind of a hermit. So when I get into conflict, I need to run away and go like think about it and figure it out and maybe do some research, and then I can come back and talk about something. My husband is an 8. He is a leader, and he's like, this is the way it is. Why don't you already know that? And where are you going? You have to listen to me. He's a leader also in his human design. So he's like, of course I have the answer. He's a projector, just like you. So he already has the answers. So
Right.
he wants to come at me and tell me what to do. And I want to run away and go hide in the closet until I'm feeling safe enough to come back out and I have all the information that I need. You can see how that would be a difficult way to be.
Sarah knows that life. Yeah.
Yes. And so I had to realize that I needed to give more words and say, I'm feeling flooded and overwhelmed, but I will be back in half an hour. So that he didn't feel abandoned, right? And he felt heard and respected. And also then I got to go honor myself. And I got to listen to myself and do what I needed to do to be safe. This feeling of safety is, I think, what so many people in our generation are searching for.
Yeah.
What is emotional safety? And one of the things that I can say as a survivor, domestic violence survivor, is that every time I told myself a little truth and I created a space in which I was safe, that was a pebble that I could put on my journey. I could put it right in front of me, and it was secure because it was my pebble. And slowly but surely, I started prioritizing putting more of those pebbles because only I can do it. Only I can create internal emotional safety. And the way we start doing that, this is actually based on both Celtic shamanism. I study with a shaman in Scotland, and also I am an initiated shaman with the Peruvian Caro Nation down in Peru, going again in November. So excited. But the idea that the way we start creating safety within ourselves is by honoring our most basic needs. That means going to the bathroom when you have to go to the bathroom. That means getting a drink of water when you're thirsty. And if we think about our society, as I said, I taught for 30 years. Not once for 30 years was I able to go to the bathroom when I needed to go to the bathroom. I couldn't just walk out of the room and leave 30 kids and go do that. So it's interesting how my career was also supporting this instability within my own psyche. And less important than the fact that all of a sudden I started noticing opportunities for me to take care of myself all the time. And that is my job. That's really my only job. So human design is an Enneagram I use in my practice to get people to really understand and be able to see with clarity this internal world, what's going on inside. Why do I do the things that I do? Why do I instantly get this, oh my God, this person is unsafe, run away. I've made a joke all the time, my whole life, I think, that I'm really a turtle because I love to have my house and my protection with me all the time. So that if something happens in a social setting, I go whoop, and in my shell I go, because life and connection can be scary. And so I use those two, and then the biosphere, the environment that we are walking around in, is the gene keys. And these are systems that were downloaded, transmitted. You can use your own language. Ra'uruhu received the transmission of human design in the, in the early 80s, I think. In like 6 days, he got the whole system. It involves the I Ching, numerology, the Kabbalah. It has really intricate relationships to very old thought processes, thought belief systems,
philosophies, right?
And pulls all of these philosophies in. And then Richard Rudd was a student of Ra'uruhu and the human design, and he then extrapolated it out into the gene keys. So I like to say that human design and Enneagram together teach you how this avatar performs out in the world. And then the gene keys is the world. And we have themes that we are here to learn, lessons that we are here to learn in this lifetime. And so we can look to our gene keys to recognize patterns in relationship. We can look to our gene keys to learn about our life's work. What are we here to learn? What are we here to do? What is the path of evolution? What challenges might we be faced with in order to evolve in that way? And in this way, it helps us understand maybe the spiral of our life. It doesn't help us avoid the lessons. It just helps us gain some clarity on the themes so that hopefully we can maybe move through those themes with a little bit more ease, a little bit more understanding, a little bit more self-compassion as we are wandering through this thing called life.
Yeah. So we have more people that have commented. And so welcome, Shannon. I think you're new as well. So welcome, coming from YouTube. And then Maya saying, wow, I think we need to connect. Carrie is saying she is an Enneagram 8.
Awesome.
Yeah. And then Maria, I had a job one time where a supervisor told me I was getting up too often from the desk for water and bathroom. So I started keeping a gallon of water under my desk. So
Same, Maria.
Asked to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think now it might be helpful for us to maybe pull up some examples and for us to talk a little bit about it. And so let me go ahead and bring those up to the stage. So we have mine, then we have Kate's, and then we have one of yours. And so we're showing some different things. So this is the human design for me. And so when you look at this, what's the first thing that tends to stand out to you when you look at these types of things?
So the first thing I look at is which centers are in connection. Just to keep using that word. What I mean by that is you see all these shapes. They're roughly in the same format as the chakra system. This is actually based on the chakra system. We typically understand the 7 chakras, but there are actually hundreds of chakras. This system uses 9. So you might notice that there are some extra ones. And what I'm looking for is which ones are colored in and which ones are white. We have access to all of the energy within all of these chakra systems. That just because, Sarah, you have things lit up actually at the top and on the sides, and your center is a little bit, it's undefined is the term that we use. Kate's might look very different. Mine actually looks different from yours. Mine is lit up see Kate's runs, she's defined in the center. And then her root chakra is not defined, nor is her splenic. That's the one over on the left. Each of these chakra systems have an archetypal energy, if you will. I'm going to keep throwing it back to archetypal energy because it's something that we can use even if we don't fully believe in it. So if we think of root chakra, this is actually a motor. You have a lot of energy that comes from and is built up within that motor. When a root is undefined, you can actually amplify the energy of other people and then find yourself when you're alone without a whole lot of energy because you don't have that root connected. The splenic center over the triangle over on the left-hand side that is undefined, that is our sense of intuition and also our sense of safety. I want to really reinforce that an undefined center does not mean that you do not have access to that information or to that energy. It means that actually you amplify it when you're with other people. And then when you're by yourself, you can find yourself kind of like, wait, something was just working a minute ago that is now not working, or vice versa, right? So you can notice within your own system, do you work well in public? There's a way that we can look at markets. I work really well in markets, in external markets, which means I've known this since I was in college. I do really good work when I'm at a cafe or a coffee shop, trying to focus and do my things. I'm much better in that environment than I am by myself in my office. When I'm by myself in my office, I only have access to what I have access to. If I'm in a coffee shop, I can enmesh my energy systems with
Huh.
other people's energy systems, and I can have more consistent access to, say, my splenic system, because I am also undefined in my splenic.
Okay.
The
That
other
is
place that I think it's really important to know about your own specific system is your throat chakra. This is the square that's at the top of the arched arrows.
Mhm.
Your throat chakra, everything in your human design chart is pushing towards your throat chakra. Everything
I see
in
that.
the environment is pushing towards manifestation, right?
Mhm.
Manifestation is the idea of getting ideas out of our systems into the world, right? So that they are real, they're realized. Sarah, yours is not defined, and Kate's is. So the two of you working together, Sarah, you have better access to your throat chakra when you're with Kate than you do all by yourself.
Mhm.
I think that the throat chakra is very important when we're talking about how to honor our own inner world and how to create an environment in which we are safe, because so often we can find it difficult to speak our truth or
Mm.
to speak up or act out that which creates a feeling of safety and security within ourselves, particularly in connection. And we all need to learn how to speak our own truth. You're allowed to say what makes you feel safe or unsafe. And as children, when we have parents who are not necessarily consistent in their own energies,
Mhm.
we are lacking that environment in which we can say what we need in a safe environment so that we get what we need, if that makes sense.
Mhm. If I
So
could ask a question real quick.
please.
So Kate has the throat, I don't. And I do find that Kate and I complement each other in that way. I also find the fact that I have the intuition filled in, and she doesn't. She a lot of times will rely upon me for that because I have a very sound inner guidance on intuition, and I help her with that. And so I think that helps people just to understand a little bit more about how you play with each other and why certain people might help fulfill like your purpose in the things that
Yes.
that you're doing. So I just wanted to just point that out. And then both of us don't have a root chakra. It's undefined for both of us. So it's like energy wise, we're like, I'm exhausted. I need some time to myself.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So that I love that you just brought up that together your root chakra is undefined, because one of the things I find my clients can really benefit from is to run charts with two people together. So I said I did that family design experiment information. So what that means is, looking at Sarah, this chart that we have in front of us, every single center is lit up when the two of you are together, except the root chakra.
Yes.
Together, you two can make a concerted effort to really ground yourself into your space before you begin a podcast, before you have a meeting where you're planning. And in that way, you can call on and send connection to that root chakra, which may very well offer you guys a different energy than you've normally had together. Or maybe you come to the end of a meeting and you're not as exhausted as you might otherwise have been. You have other motor centers within your system. So the root chakra is not the only one. And so were I doing your reading, we would talk about the gates that are or are not connected within your root chakra. To mention, the gates are these little circles. I don't know if you can zoom in a little bit.
Oops, that's the other one. Let me go back. These little circles.
You can
here.
see all these numbers. And just to give the people who are watching a little bit of an explanation, if they've not experienced any human design, on the right-hand side, you'll see a line, a list of numbers and symbols. And at the top, it says personality. That is your actual astrological information from the day of your birth. It includes, you'll see Pluto at the bottom, Neptune, all the way up to Sun and Earth. The Sun is the very top symbol. it is 70% of your personality. 70% of your personality is locked up in that gate. Sarah, it's no accident that is gate 1 for you. That is a divine masculine. That is the spark of creativity. That is also mine. And then just beneath the 1.5 here, you'll see the 2.5. That is your personality earth. And the 2 is the divine feminine. That is the receiving. And then those 2 are very important, and I'll show you why in my gene keys. So yours is 1, 2. Let's keep that in mind. On the other side, you'll see another list. That is your design side, or your subconscious side. That is, human design holds that we have another birthday, whether that is that the soul comes online or our soul enters our the fetus's body, what have you, at 88 days before the day that you are born. What this does is gives us a 3D image. It gives us another date so that all of a sudden we can have connections. And this is what happens in your unconscious. You're not aware. So this is your radiance, if you will, the way you are, what other people see when they look at you. And the personality line is what you think you're putting out. So they are together. They make up sort of the internal world to the external world, you know, the internal dialogue and how it interplays with the external world. So this is based on astrology. So there is some astrology in here, but it's not strictly an astrological system. As I said, it has the I Ching and numerology and the Kabbalah and all kinds of different systems in here. If you look at this, we're going to go back up here to the personality side. I realize I'm using my my mouse and you guys can't see my arrows. So on the personality side, the sun, you, Sarah, are a 1.5.
Yep.
The 5 is the heretic. And then we go over to the design side and your sun is 4.1. So the 1 is the investigator. That 5-1 gives you your profile.
Okay.
So it is the number after the decibel. Those numbers specifically relate to the I Ching. That's where we get this archetypal energy of the heretic or the investigator. My husband is also a 5. Being the heretic, I want to give you an image, okay? The investigator, number 1, you can see him or her with a little magnifying glass on the ground, investigating, getting all of the details, right? That person is not paying attention to anybody else. It's just the goal is to get as much information as possible. Then the heretic, if you think of the human design system a little bit like a house, like the 1 is at the foundation, 2, 3, 4, 5 is upstairs on the 2nd floor looking out the window. Another example is on a stage. You are reflecting back to people what they want to hear. If you are, you can also say on a pulpit, right? If you are a religious leader, you are reflecting back to people what they want to hear. They're there for, they believe you, and they're there for reinforcement. If you are a musician standing on a stage, you are playing the music that they want to hear, right? So the important thing for the heretic to realize is that your message is something that you need to deliver because there are people who are waiting to hear it. Who they are and where they are and what they look like, that's not important to you. That should not be your priority. You have something to say that's important, and there are people who need to hear it. And it's based subconsciously on this investigator archetype that's within you that needs all of that information. You are also a projector. There are 4 types, some would say 5 types of people within the human design system. There's the generator, a manifesting generator. It used to be that the mani-gens were in the generator category. There is a just a manifester. There is a projector. And then there is the newest group, which is the reflector. The reflectors are 1% of the population. Generators are 70% of the population. So you can kind of see a little bit of how our society might be built. But these 4 archetypal groups work together to create the society that we're in. So just as though we have archetypal energies within our individual self, collectively, we serve a purpose also. So the generator, we are the worker bees. We are those who will execute a whole bunch of anything that we believe in. When we have our solar plexus lit up, which is the triangle on the right side, and Sarah, both you and Kate have that, so do I, we have to emotionally believe and trust in what we are doing, or we have no energy to deliver into what we are doing. Which, if you think about the corporate world, we're often asked to perform things regardless of whether or not we believe in it or think it's important or anything else. So that could potentially, at least understanding why you struggle with certain projects and why you are really lit up about others, can maybe help you ease that struggle a little bit. Manifestors are the people who come up with ideas. Steve Jobs, manifestor. He had the great idea about Apple. He did not create all of Apple. The generators created Apple, right? The generators took some of those ideas and expanded upon them, and now we have Apple Inc. The projectors, Steve Jobs, and some of his other high executives could also be considered projectors. You projectors are those who know the way. You don't know how come you know the way. As the heretic, as the person on the pulpit, you are there to share the direction that we're supposed to be going in. We don't know why. Many eights, it's interesting. It fits with the archetypal of an Enneagram 8 to be a projector. You're leaders, you know the way, you have absolutely no problem telling people the way, which means that you get called bossy and that you don't have a whole lot of patience.
No.
And, you know, you're
I never get called that.
Right. Honestly, it's because you're a projector, so you already know why. You have all the information, and you're like, come on, dumbass. Don't you know this is the way we're supposed to be going?
Right.
It's obvious to you. And you can't even conceive that those of us generators, I see 45 roads, you see one. You can see why both of those are valuable, right? And so just real quickly, the reflectors, their job is to literally reflect back to us what we were doing. They're almost like the moral check, the moral code. They're like, this is what you're doing. Do you like it? Do you like what you see? Is this where we want to go? You sure? Okay, we can go there, but are you sure? And they change, they reflect back, and it shifts all the time. If they're with Kate or they're with Sarah, it's going to be different how they're reflecting back. How they feel is completely dependent upon who they're with.
Interesting.
Their chart looks so different because nothing is filled in. None of those centers have color. They look much, it looks more like Sarah, your chart, where all of those and centers are clear. All of them look like that.
So funny enough, I'm a projector. My daughter is a manifestor. My husband is a generator, and my bonus son is a manifesting generator. We don't have any reflectors that I know of. I don't know what Kennedy is. Well,
like I said, they're only 1% of the population. So I actually have 2 reflectors in my client base, and I find myself to be really grateful for that, because I know a lot of other people who use the system who don't have any. So it's more theoretical energy as opposed to I get to kind of work with them. So I'm learning a lot because it's something that is not, it's very different than the way I feel. As a reflector. I did want to just jump back real quick to explain one of the beautiful things about human design is how it helps us understand how we work with our internal gut, and how it helps us make decisions and how it helps us interact with other people in a positive way. So a projector, everybody, if they go to my website, they can get a free chart. I've allowed for that to be free for the next few days, so they can go to lifeshinedesign.com and click on human design, and it will lead them through those prompts. And it will, one of the things it will say, it'll give you your numbers, like the 5-1 that I explained, and it will give you your type, your profile, and your strategy. The profile is the 5-1. The type is the generator, manifesting generator. what have you. And then the strategy is, it's going to say something like to respond or wait for an invitation.
Mm-hmm.
Those are super important little bits of information that you can use immediately if you understand it. As a projector, Sarah, you need to wait for an invitation. So that means the way you avoid being called bossy and the way you engender trust within people around you is you wait for an invitation for your knowledge. Just because you have the information to give doesn't mean they are willing or ready to receive it.
Yeah.
So there is a reason for you to be cognizant, aware, and sensitive to who you are accepting, who you're delivering your information to, and how. And Cate, you are a generator, and so you need to wait to respond. So you can blab about the things that you know all day long, and nobody's going to take it that you're really being bossy the way instantly Sarah is considered bossy because she's
Yep.
directing the traffic.
You're speaking our language.
But you need to wait to respond because you need to really understand after you have an emotional wave, what is actually worth your while. Because when you're connected to other people, everything's going to sound so exciting. And yes, I want to do that. And yes, I want to do that. And oh my God, sign me up. And I'll go to the concert on Friday night. Even though I'm working 10 hours every day, I'll have the energy to do that on Friday night. No, you won't. You won't. So you need to wait at least, some say 3 days. Some say, Raoul, who said you have to wait for the wave of emotion to pass by to see if something was still interesting. So for me, that means I can't sign up for a class until I have really sat on it for a couple of weeks before I can really decide whether or not that's something I can take on and add to my already overflowing course load, if that makes sense.
Yes, that makes a lot of sense. Huh.
I have just delivered a whole bunch of information, so please ask questions and help me fill in any blanks I might have left.
I also would love to go here as well, just to be able to let people know. But Cate, do you have any specific things you're wanting to dive into?
Oh my God, a million things. I can't even.
I'm going to move this.
So interesting. I think just everything is resonating, and really, really loving the conversation. You were just like a wealth of knowledge. So I'm curious, you talked a little bit about it, about, how you bring these different things into your coaching. What is is that based on what people's goals are, or are you helping them define their goals?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
So life coaching is different than therapy in that life coaching is more like goal setting. And from a shamanic perspective, it is energetically, where do we want to go? And let's anchor into that and start pulling that reality in. Some would say from a quantum energetic field, we're going to align ourselves with that energy, right? And then move towards that. I tend to use all of these tools to get rid of all the flotsam that is in the way as we're trying to get there. I offer just life coaching. I don't mean to make it sound like it's just life coaching, but if only life coaching is what is asked for, then I stick within the tools of my life coaching certifications. I'm certified in 3 different systems. And, I often use mindfulness and different techniques. The adult chair, just to give you a quick view into what the way I do my life coaching, the adult chair believes in a 3-centered system. I'm just going to stay with the same human design vocabulary. This coincides actually with both shamanic belief systems that I am studying. So in the adult chair, we have the child chair, the adolescent chair, and obviously the adult chair. The child chair is everything that happens to us between 0 and 8. This is when we're learning what is safe, what is not, what are emotions, fill in the blank. 8 to say your first Saturn return. 27 is when we claim that adolescence is over, but our first Saturn return is at 30. So somewhere in there, that's the adolescent area. That's when we individuate from our parents, but also our ego is created, and our ego is what stands up and protects us. The ego, for many years of our life was considered, oh, get rid of your ego, lose your ego, what have you. You can't, that's not a thing. That is not a thing. Working with your ego is a very important thing. And your ego is there to protect you. That's its job. So it's constantly scanning all of your experiences and everything that you run into in your life, at work, on the street, in your car, and at home, for anything that might look like a threat. And a threat in your system, Sarah, is different than in your system, Kate, because that threat is defined by your life experience. So in this way, this is why it's so important to look at your triggers, because you are triggered because there is a threat. And what triggers me is different than what triggers either of you. And those triggers are created through our life experience. And our brains, the amazing things they are actually set up to find something that looks like something that hurt us before. And then it's going to throw up all the defenses, because that job is to protect us. Right. But that means that we don't even realize that we are throwing up all these defenses, and they are literally the foundation of our relationships. All of those defenses. We're getting informed by those defenses. We're informed by our wounding them, right? So how we work within that adolescent system is super important. And then there's the adult chair, which is where we witness how we bounce between all three all day long in every single situation. It's not, we don't get to the adult chair and we're like, ta-da, we're there. That's not a thing either, right? So another buzzword is, inner child work, inner critic. All of these archetypal thoughts are archetypes are in the child chair, the adolescent chair, and the adult chair. Okay. The Celtic shamanism believes that there are three cauldrons. And the lower cauldron is the emotional base. If you think of your pelvic area as being the ocean of your emotions, that's where we feel all the things through. That's the chakras that coincide with that. That is the lower cauldron. The middle cauldron is the heart chakra and the emotional sense of self. Who am I? Where is my willpower? What am I really determined to do? And what could I care less about? That's all in the middle. And then the upper cauldron is your spiritual center. It is part of the Celtic belief system that your spiritual center cannot even be accessed if the lower two are not online.
Okay, that makes sense.
Which makes a lot of sense, right? I mean, if we are worried about our basic level of safety, lowest level of Maslow's needs, right? That's the lower cauldron. If that is off balance, we cannot have a balanced upper cauldron. Right. The foundation needs to be set and strong. The Karo Nation of Indians believes there's the Yankai, the Munai, and the Yachai. And the Yankai is that lower system. It is the connection to Mother Earth. It is that connection to Pachamama and the center of the earth, which is what grounds us and lashes us to this rock in space, right? But if that is really strong, then the energy can then flow up and through our heart center, the Munai, and then up to the Yachai, which is, I love this metaphor. You have a condor that lives in a nest on your head. And so that condor can be invited to lift off and go fly around your head and look at all people, things, experiences, facts, and stories from the present, past, and future that are affecting you in this situation today. And then it can come back and land light into its nest on your head and provide you that insight. It's just a beautiful metaphor for how we can use that third chakra. I'm sorry, the top chakra, the crown and the third eye, and how these work together with this condor.
Yeah. I'm going to pull up some.
How you keep everything straight, Jen.
I know.
Like, with all this knowledge and all of these different philosophies, like, it's very clear that you study a lot because, you not only have the knowledge, but you also,
Yeah.
you keep learning.
Well,
It's
I think as an educator, I taught Spanish for 30 years. And part of it was, I think I got the job initially because I said I was a Spanish student, not a Spanish teacher, because I didn't consider myself fluent when I got that first job. And I was able to synthesize culture. I was allowed to write my own curriculum for all 30 years. So I was able to synthesize culture and history and the language and synthesize all of those systems together. So that really was my passion for 30 years. And I find that I'm using the same tools of synthesis, if you will, to pull all of these systems together so that I just intuitively can offer these different tools depending upon what my clients are talking about. So some of my clients just come to me for human design and gene keys coaching so that we can get really deep into their systems. And some clients come to me for all of it. And if you buy a package with me for 3 or 6 months, it includes your human design and gene keys if you choose. It does eat up a significant amount of the time within those packages because it's about 12 hours of information that you get overall between these two systems. And the Enneagram then is also sprinkled in there. But my clients can choose what they want to know about and what they don't. Some are like, this human design thing is so complicated, I don't even want to know, which is funny because then I go look at their human design chart and I just weave that wisdom into their system without them having to even look at their chart. They don't need to know why something is. Just
right.
Like, this might be easy for them, or this might be a challenge, and how might they address that challenge?
Yeah. I'm going to pull up that chart. So this is your chart. Can you tell us what we're seeing here?
Yes. So this is the gene keys, and there are 64 gene keys and 64 gates in human design. They are related, which is why you see the human design body graph in the top left corner. You'll notice there are some colors with these spheres. The green 4 are called the activation sequence. They are connected to those top 2, sun and earth, on both the personality and the design side. So they are the overarching energies of your life. So if you look at mine, I am a 1/6 in my personality sun. You, Sarah, are a 1/5. So the 6, again, I just want to remind you, is connected to the I Ching. And that's right here. It says line 6 is a teacher. I guess that doesn't come as any surprise. But the energy is a 1, right? That's the masculine action. It's the spark of creativity. Everything within the gene keys and human design also really reinforces that we are all creative beings. Creativity, all of us are being creative every single minute. We have an imagination. We dream. We daydream. We predict, standing in a room where there are multiple people. If somebody says something, you might kind of look to the side and like play out a whole little mini sitcom in your head about where this conversation might go, which has nothing to do with what's actually happening. That's creativity. We are constantly creating our reality. Right. And with that understanding comes the responsibility that you are always creating your reality. So it falls into the 7 laws of the universe, that we receive what we are calling for. What we ask for is what we will get, right? So before I go off on that tangent, let's finish with this one. So the activation sequence is your life's work down to your evolution, and then your radiance and your purpose. Your purpose is not your job, but it is kind of why you are here. These 4 energies are called your incarnation cross. It gives you a lot of information about the overarching energies in that biosphere that I was referring to before. Human design holds that you have a monopole. A monopole is a one-sided magnet, right? That monopole, if you look in the upper left-hand body graph chart, mine is yellow. It's right in the smack dab in the center beneath my throat chakra. Everybody's monopole is there. I don't mean to say it's just mine. what that means is that we call in the people, experiences, and the life that we need to work through the energies that we're here to untangle, is one way to say it. So the green circles are what you are calling in throughout your life to learn the lessons that you need to learn. The red circles are called your Venus sequence, and that's there's so much information in there. It's all of the wounding really that happens during our adolescence, from relationships to our own personal dharma, collective karma, all of these things, how it relates to our own individual person. Again, that information is so important to help you figure out your own inner hazard zones, if you will. Where are the orange cones in your own psyche? They're defined by that Venus sequence right there. And then the blue spheres are the pearl sequence. That is it's what your vocation should be, what your career, it could inform your career, but it's also like, as opposed to a career, what are you supposed to do here? What are you doing? I find it interesting that the vocation sphere, which is the blue and red sphere over in the upper left, that is your core wounding from your childhood, and it is your life's vocation by the end of your life. But by the time we're in our age group, ladies, we understand that our biggest, deepest injury and wound is our message. That is why we're here. So that can be really enlightening for a lot of people.
Yeah. So I have a question that came up real quick. Does Enneagram change?
So one of the things I haven't spoken about with human design is conditioning. And this does inform also, I think it helps answer this question. The Enneagram experts would say no, that I was born a 5 and I'll always be a 5. However, human design would suggest that we are conditioned from our family of origin, and we develop patterns of behavior and protective measures and things that our brain interprets as safety or recognizes as familiar, so welcomes that in, that really inform the way our life progresses. So in that way, if you think that when you were a child, you might have been an Enneagram 5, for instance, right? When I am in my healthy, strong persona of my 5, I can be perceived as an 8 because I can be perceived as a leader, someone who knows what they're talking about, someone who knows the way. When I am not in my healthy place, I go to a different number. It doesn't matter which number. So we are traveling through the Enneagram grid as we travel through our lives, and we're dealing with the things that we're dealing with. I think that our understanding of ourselves is what changes over time. And as we recognize conditioning and human design, one of its beautiful elements is the fact that it helps us in the deconditioning. It helps us recognize where we are just acting as a puppet because somebody else has told us that when this happens, this string pulls and so our hand goes up. When we can unravel that a little bit, we come more closer to our essence. And so in that way, I think that our Enneagram might change, or our Enneagram about our understanding of the Enneagram may change and shift. I need to say also that all of us have all of the energies of the Enneagram as well. Sarah, I don't know if it's possible for you to pull up the Enneagram chart so that we can show that. And I think it's important to say that just as we flip around through the adult chair and all of those different chairs, we flip around our Enneagram chart. We flip around and call on different gates for different energies. So we are just constantly moving and shifting, which can make it hard, really, to identify what triggers are causing what response, but also it makes it a little bit more of a game. We need to look at ourselves with curiosity and be interested and fired up when we find something new about ourselves to investigate.
Are you able to see it?
I see the gene keys. I don't see the Enneagram.
You know what? I don't think I added that one. So
Okay, don't worry. Don't worry. It's not hugely relevant to this conversation. It's something that I use in the background to help specifically with conflict.
Okay.
Specifically when I'm helping my clients with conflict, we go and look at the Enneagram. One of the reasons why I only use it in that instance is because conflict is really hard. I think a lot of us are like, oh my God, my husband or my spouse, my partner does this, and I really hate it, and it makes me feel like this, and so they need to stop. Actually, the response to that is, no, your spouse, partner, whomever does this, and you really hate it. Why?
Yeah.
Why do you hate that so much? And what can we shift in you that can allow for a different response within you?
Yeah.
When your partner does this.
Right.
Yeah. So I want to allow enough time for us to also do your email address, and you also were going to give back. So I want to make sure that we do that because we're at 111. So I want to make sure we do that. So can you tell people what it is that you're wanting to do and how you're wanting to get back to the audience?
Sure. I actually have a recording of a class that I did on how to read your human design chart. So if people would like to go to my website, it is www.lifeshinedesign.com. And you can go there, follow the prompts to human design, and pull up your interactive chart. That chart is not downloadable because if you hover over the different parts, it will give you some information about that part of your chart. And that interaction obviously disables when you download it. If you go ahead and do that and then send me an email to jen@lifeshinedesign.com and just write BOYBAS in the subject, I will put your name in for a reading, and I will pull a name by Monday morning and offer a free reading to that person.
Awesome.
Sweet.
Sarah, I'm not sure how we could share the class. Can we put that up maybe in the comment section of this YouTube video? I can get the link for that video and get that to you. And can put that up.
So get that to us. Somewhere. We can add it to YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn.
Perfect. And I love interacting. So when and if anybody watches that, if they want to ask me questions, you can contact me on Facebook or Instagram and start a conversation about your chart. I'd love to help you explore.
Yeah. I love this conversation. I could continue on forever in having these conversations. So I'm just going to pull up a couple of things that people have said. Carrie said, this has been fascinating. Thank you for all the insight. Must run. Big thanks.
Thanks.
Earlier, Shannon said, this is fascinating. I love learning more about human design. She also has no root chakra here either. And then Maya said, the throat chakra is always so prominent for me when practicing Reiki on others. So she said, interesting. And then Maria said, thank you for another great show. So I just love this conversation. I love how you bring all kinds of different tools.
Yeah.
Human design, that is a bunch of different ones.
So I don't want to make an assumption, but I feel like you have done a really great job in a fairly short amount of time of creating this really robust coaching practice, right? And so I think, some of our audience, I think, are leaning or wanting to do that and would love to learn more about that as well. I don't know if you'd be interested in coming back and doing another session, just, leaning a little bit more towards like, if your goal is to help others, and you need a platform to do that, how, like, just kind of giving us some examples of what you did and other things, because it's impressive.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I would love to come back. One of the things that I love that I get to chase my curiosity. If I'm interested in a system or in a class, I just go take it, and inevitably some of the parts become part of what I offer to my clients. Right. I do think that one of the most interesting things in today's conversation, collective conversation, is how we are all seeking to figure out how to find more peace. And we're looking to make changes. Either, we want people to change or our relationships to change. We throw our marriages out, or we, get frustrated at this school and switch to go to a different school. There's so much so much transiency in our lifetimes, if that's a word, that we can stop if we start looking within ourselves. And if we shift, the outside world shifts. It's a law of the universe, right? Our energy shifts, that which we call in is shifting. It's just so fascinating to watch it happen. And it's so beautiful when I get to help someone find some clarity and to be able to live with a little bit more peace. It's just the greatest honor.
Yeah. And because there's so many of us, I mean, almost all of us seeking peace, there's enough work to go around, right? There's enough.
Yeah. Absolutely.
There's so much love and energy to spread to kind of fuel everyone to do this, right?
Yeah, that's great. And that's part of what I'm building is I'm working to record a number of classes where I'm doing some of the artwork, like what we see behind me. And, if you're pulling in more love, what does that look like? Is it self-love? Is it love from another person? The butterfly, I use a lot of symbology within my practice too. So it's all just different ways to explore the way we interact with whatever our emotion is, because that healing comes from our emotional being. We have to go experience that. And we were never taught how to do that.
No, right.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you, everyone, for the interaction today as well.
Yeah,
and
thank you.
I think the overall word that I saw again and again was fascinating. And
fascinating.
So when things are fascinating, then you're intrigued and you want to know more. So I think let's also see how we can continue this conversation, potentially as a follow-up. And so thank you, everyone that has been joining us. They're saying thank you so much for sharing this amazing information. And so maybe, Kate, you can end us today. And also, Jen, make sure that you provide us information on who it is that ends up winning. And we'll also just let our audience know that as well. So just as a last, just to make sure everybody had it, here is our email address again, jen@lifeshinedesign.com. Be sure to use BOYBAS so she knows that you came from our show, and she'll be giving a free reading. And so, Kate, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, thanks so much, Sarah. And thank you so much, Jen. This has been, like everyone else has said, very fascinating, amazing. I just, I want to leave us today with there's truly no better way to bring out your badass self than to learn about who you are and accept it and love it and, and embrace it. So go on and be your badass selves. Let today's fascination maybe take you down a cool rabbit hole this weekend and then kick some ass next week.
Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you, Jen.